Hey guys, it's Danny. Today we are going to talk a little bit and repot my Monstera Thai Constellation. This is a new plant for me, and I know it's not an orchid, and I know this is mainly an orchid channel, but from time to time I think it's nice to play around with some other plants as well. I'm not good at caring for many other plants. Orchids are just so different than everything else that I kind of specialized on orchids, and I'm not really good at most anything else. But there are a few things that I think are similar to orchids and I like, and Monsteras, at least these ones, are one of those plants. So yeah, today it's a Monstera video. I'm gonna give you an update on my old Alba Borzigiana, which some of you might know about. She's not looking good, you're gonna see. But we're gonna focus on my new Thai Constellation, which finally it's accessible, because it used to cost an arm and a leg, and I like my arms and legs. So I kind of admired it from afar, I never purchased it, but now it's kind of cheaper, more expensive than most other orchids, but it is accessible now. So I took a chance on a little cutting. I like to start my plants tiny actually and just watch them grow. And I decided to pot it in semi-hydroponics with Leca. I have so much Leca left over from the Orchids and Leca days. It's really not working out for me with orchids, but maybe with the Monstera it will, since I think it doesn't require as much or as many resources as orchids. They don't have like intricate flowers with colors and patterns and fragrance and all of that stuff. So theoretically, even if Leca is not very acidic, maybe we're gonna do good. People on the internet do well with Leca, so hey, why not? I'm actually happy I don't waste sphagnum moss pretty much, and personally I don't like soil that much, so I'm giving it a go in Leca, and this is how I went about it. Alright, so this is my little Monstera Thai Constellation. This is how I received it, and I got it from Orchid Garden why do I always call it Orchid Garden? Secret Garden in Romania. So it is in a sort of soil potting mix, but I'm not gonna keep it in soil. I have different plans. So we're gonna get there, but first and foremost, all I wanna do is unpot her and see how the root system looks like. So I'm kind of applying the same mentality as orchids, pressing a little on the pot in case the roots are circling the pot, and I want to find a place close to the base where I can actually hold her from. Oh wow, look at that, we do have a few roots visible here, nice looking roots, and I will have to clean them very, very well, because I'm not gonna use soil, I'm not gonna use bark, I'm not gonna use sphagnum moss, I'm gonna use Leca. The return of the Leca. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about that. Leca has been one of the past potting mixes that I had for quite a while with orchids, and I have decided it's not really working for me in this climate, which does affect my grow space. And I will make a separate video addressing all of that and why it didn't really work out all that great for me and why I gave it up. But with orchids, I moved to sphagnum moss. Now, sphagnum moss is wonderful. It works out in my area very, very well because it holds on to a lot of moisture. It is also airy in the way that I pack it. You might say, oh no, sphagnum moss is suffocating. No, it's not. If you pack it in a way that is not suffocating. It's actually very airy and fluffy and nice. It's like a little blanket, and most of all, it is also slightly acidic. So I don't have issues with nutrient deficiencies or nutrient absorption. And when it comes to orchids, we do want nutrient absorption to be optimal, in my opinion, because again, in my opinion, orchids are more complicated than this, more complicated than philodendrons. I'm sorry to say it, but orchids have more structures, more diverse structures, and also they have a lot more complicated flowers. We have an intricate shape there, we have colors, we have fragrance. There is a lot of stuff that goes into flowering an orchid, which is what we want. And if we're lacking nutrients, blooming will be subpar. I mean, with Leca, I could not obtain what you see here in the back. And I do believe one of the reasons was the pH. So I switched to sphagnum moss here and there, also bark. They're both acidic, and I did not look back. But with Monsteras, I do see that people do have quite a bit of luck with Leca, and certainly I'm not expecting this plant to produce wonderful blooms with fragrance and colors and all of that, and the flower count and all of the things we're looking for in orchids, right? No, I just wanted to grow some leaves and look pretty much that's it. And if Leca does it, then I'm gonna use Leca because I have a heck of a ton of it on the terrace and I don't know what to do with it. I need to use it. I don't want to throw it away. And yeah, it's a lot cleaner than soil, which is my least favorite medium to work with generally. And it's also not going to consume my precious resources that I use for orchids, because we ain't living in an area that spoils us with resources. So yeah, so let me go ahead and clean up the root system at the sink right now, clean up my tray, and we're gonna come back, explain the setup. Some of you might remember it's an old setup, but it's a good setup. All right, so I've washed the root system of my little plant. I didn't go very detailed on it, it's not necessary, but it's pretty much washed from the big bits of soil. So let's talk about the setup. First and foremost, the pot. This is a pot without drainage holes because what I want to do is semi-hydroponics. Now this is a term and a setup that Ray from First Rays came up with quite a long time ago for orchids. I think initially it was for slipper orchids, and what it was a pot without drainage that had holes somewhere in the lower part, in the bottom part, not quite at the bottom but a little higher up, so that it created a reservoir of water inside the pot. So it's not really self-watering. We don't have a wick, we don't have those cones going into the water. We have the entire bottom staying full of water. And because I'm a windowsill grower, quote unquote, I don't want my furniture to get spoiled. I'm also going to use a little tray here because when I'm gonna water, yes, some of the water will run out. It's impossible for me to see the level of the water. There's a reason for that. We're gonna get to it. So to avoid spilling water on my furniture, I'm using a dish. If you are growing plants in semi-hydroponics outside or in a greenhouse, it's unnecessary, obviously. If you have expensive furniture, you might want to put a dish under. Now, the reason why I'm not using transparent or translucent pots like in the original setup is because of cyanobacteria. We are gonna get an obscene amount of cyanobacteria here in this climate with semi-hydroponics and pretty much everything else. So I want dark, opaque pots. Good side is we won't have issues with cyano. Bad side is we will not see when we put enough water in this. So yeah, that's pretty much the setup explained. Now, very easy part, we put the Leca inside, and I'm gonna mute the video because the noise canceling and all of the effects that I put on the audio of the video will make Leca sound horrifying, the stuff of nightmares. So we're gonna mute things right now. Alrighty, so I put a layer of Leca, and now I'm just going to sit my plant in and just continue to add Leca. I might actually need a little bit more. I might go ahead and rinse a little bit more Leca, but we're gonna see. I'm gonna put everything I have here. Yes, we are definitely in need of a bit more Leca. I'm gonna go rinse a little bit more. Be right back. Alrighty, so let's add a little bit more Leca. Here we are. Oh, one thing I hate about Leca is that it goes everywhere, it rolls everywhere. Oh, brother. I mean, it's clean though, it's clean. Let's just focus on the fact that it's clean and I don't have to repurchase it. I can reuse it and it doesn't break down. Lots of positives with Leca, a few negatives as well. But yeah, I think we're pretty much done. So let me show you how watering goes in the setup. All right, so I'm gonna show you a watering with fertilizer, which will probably be the default. I am always using orchid fertilizer because I have a very good one with all of my plants pretty much. I don't have very heavy feeding plants as far as I'm aware, so it works. I will overflow a little bit the reservoir here just so you can see. But typically, ideally, I would want to fill the reservoir to the point where only a little bit of water comes out. Let's see. Oh, this holds quite a bit of water, but there we go. So pretty much what we're gonna have left is a predetermined quantity of water for the plant to utilize. Obviously, the excess that falls out will not do anything. It will just be caught by the tray here. It's not going to contribute to the overall plant, but it doesn't have to. You can also imagine that if you want to flush this pot, which with Leca you might want to do that from time to time, because you will see efflorescence on the top. It's gonna happen, especially if you have a drier environment like I do, but you might want to actually flush the pot very well from time to time. So you can go with this pot at the sink and just put water at the top, let it drain from the bottom very well to wash out and flush out that reservoir and all of the leca, and then you will be left with water in the reservoir. But if somehow you don't want that water in the reservoir, just empty the reservoir. It's that easy. Okay, I'm not gonna empty the reservoir, I'm gonna keep it. How do we know there's no more water in the reservoir? Well, we don't. Usually this setup is made with transparent or translucent pots. If you have one of those pots, you will know. If you don't, you're gonna have to guess. But if you're not prone, you know, to cyanobacteria and stuff, just use transparent pots. It's gonna work out much better because you're gonna see when you need to water. I kinda know though when I need to water, because we've done this before many years ago, quite a lot, so I kind of know. Inevitably you will learn how things dry out in your environment and how fast you will be able to tell from how the leca looks like. But even if you still have a little bit of water in the reservoir, it's fine. These plants, from what I see on the internet, are much more tolerant to water, or their roots being in water, than orchids are. You cannot make a cutting of a cattleya and put it in water, it's gonna root. It doesn't work like that. But with these guys, you can actually. And speaking of which, I'm gonna give you a little update of my Monstera Alba borzigiana. You're gonna see how it looks like, how awful it looks like, but how I rooted it in water. So this is this one done. I'm gonna remove this sticker here. I'm gonna put it in its location, and hey presto, we have a potted Monstera. I really hope Leca will work out for this one, because as I was saying, I have a lot of it and I need to use it. And I do appreciate that it's clean and I can reuse it and I don't need to throw it away. But yeah, with orchids, it just does not work out. But yeah, first let me show you what's left of my first Monstera. You're gonna be shocked, but it is what it is. So this is my old Monstera. Yeah, does not look like much. I was forced to do cuttings because this being the Alba borzigiana, it has an unstable variegation. It can revert to green, but it can also just go white, which is what mine did. All of the leaves went white, and that's not funny because they will stop photosynthesizing. White leaves don't have nearly as much chlorophyll, if at all, as the green part. So if the plant starts growing white leaves, it's not gonna feed itself, and that's exactly what happened to this one. So the Thai Constellation does not revert to anything. The variegation is stable. It might not be as dramatic, let's say, as this Monstera. Maybe I'm not gonna have like half moon leaves and stuff of the sort, but I'm okay. I'm okay with that. That one actually grows larger than this one as well, and it's not such a climber. But anyway, getting back to my first Monstera, the last time I filmed it, I was bragging about how great it looks, what genetics it has. It puts out half moon leaves all of the time. Oh, it's so great. Until one day when it stopped putting out half moons and started to put out like full moons, only white leaves. White leaves do not last. They start to brown, which is exactly what happened to this Monstera. Also, the white parts of the older leaves started to brown as well, and the plant melted pretty much. So I had to do cuttings to promote new growth from the stem. Problem is, and this is actually the top of the plant, the stem became almost white. So I did cut this, and I just wanted to see what this top part would do. It's not going well. It's too white, barely has any green left. Actually, I'm gonna keep it, maybe I'm gonna do more cuttings, but if I don't get a note from a green part, I think it's done. I think we're done with this particular cutting. But the other cuttings that I took, they look a little bit more promising, particularly this one. Do we see it has a growth that has quite a bit of green, quite a lot of white, but quite a bit of green as well. And all of these, they're just starting to grow. And again, they're growing from the white part of the stem, which not the greatest, but hopefully, at least one of the growths will be green enough to continue to live on. Because if I keep getting only white leaves and white stem, this Monstera is done. And that is the downside of these types of Monsteras. They look beautiful with that amount of white, but it's absolutely not healthy for the plant. But on this side, this one looks kind of good. Like the stem that I see here has quite a lot of green, has quite a lot of white as well. It's about half and half, but you know, I'm hoping I can still do cuttings from this. I can cut this one, has some roots here, and I can have other growths sprouting from further down. The stem further down has a lot more green, so that's good. So I'm just gonna keep chopping it and propagating it, and hopefully I'm gonna get one, at least one, growth with adequate amount of green, because yeah, it has such a tendency to go white. It's impressive, it's beautiful, it's just not sustainable, and that's what happened to my poor Monstera. Luckily though, this is a very vigorous plant, and yeah, the cuttings I just plopped in water. I'm not gonna bother with like moss and perlite or other things. I just put it in water. If it survives, it survives. If it doesn't, it doesn't. It's fine. But it's a strong plant, and as you can see, it was potted in Leca, and it did okay, I think, in Leca. So I'm hopeful that the Thai Constellation will do good as well. If it doesn't, I have another trick up my sleeve. I am currently doing some experiments with some lava rock. Let's see, hopefully it's better, because as some of you might know, I have serious issues with Leca being alkaline. And at least for orchids, it shows. It impairs nutrient absorption to the max. No matter how much I treat the water, no matter what I do, it's just very, very buffered, let's say. And at least the brand that I have here available, it's way too alkaline. I hope that for the Monstera, since I believe it doesn't require as many different varied resources as orchids do, I'm hoping Leca will do okay. If it doesn't, we can also try semi-hydro with lava rock, because lava rock is actually neutral, and I have a whole bunch of lava rock on my terrace sitting. I have a bag ever since I filmed a video. Anyway, I bought it for the video just to show something. I was doing a tutorial. So I have it laying around, I forgot about it, and I'm doing some experiments with it. But for now, it's gonna have to do. I'm gonna keep you up to date. Actually, I have an idea. You know what I'm gonna do? If multiple cuttings from this Monstera survive and are viable, I'm gonna put one in Leca and one in lava rock, and see how they compare, see how they grow, see how the setup works out. There are many things to talk about when it comes to Leca. I will make a separate video discussing only about Leca and why I personally don't like it all that much. But yeah, that's about it for today on the Monsteras. I'm running out of breath. I had to take a pause and do something really fast, and I just ran back. So I'm a little out of breath. But yeah, that's about it on the Monstera. I will keep you up to date. We're gonna see how this Leca setup goes, and if my Monstera will do good. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Let me know down below if you have other houseplants that you guys enjoy. It doesn't necessarily mean that I'm gonna grow them, because as I was saying, I'm not very good at growing other houseplants, but I'm just curious. Maybe some I will give a go in the future. For now though, you know, I'm limiting myself to just a few other stuff. Not a whole lot. Monsteras, I do like. I really do like. So I was waiting for 3 years, I think, at this point, for this one to not be so expensive. I knew the day would come, so I waited patiently, and behold, I have it, and I'm very happy about it. Right, okay, let's end it here. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed hanging out with me today and seeing some Monsteras. Let me know if you guys have Monsteras and what other plants you like to grow together with orchids. So that said, subscribe for more videos, mainly orchids, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!